Ever feel like the world is constantly pulling you outwards? Like there's always another ping, another person, another demand on your attention. It's pretty relentless.
Yeah, and what happens when that always-on feeling just leaves you drained, maybe even, a bit lost in all the noise? And what if the answer isn't actually more connection, but maybe a different kind of connection, one with yourself?
Exactly. So today we're doing a deep dive into the joy of solitude, being happy and content on your own time. We've gathered some really fascinating stuff looking at everything from like historical city planning and modern psychology right through to personal stories to really unpack why intentionally grabbing some alone time isn't just nice to have. It's essential for well-being.
Mm-hmm. And you'll find out why the choice to be alone is so incredibly important, how it can genuinely boost your mental health, spark creativity, and really deepen your self-awareness. Our goal here is to help you, the listener, find real peace and contentment just being with yourself.
Okay, so let's kick off with something really crucial because these words get mixed up all the time. What is the actual difference between solitude and isolation?
That's such a vital starting point. Yeah. The sources we looked at really draw a clear line. Loneliness, they say, is when we feel our separateness almost painfully, like being trapped inside your own head, wanting connection but not having it.
Wait.
Solitude, though, that's different. It's chosen. It's deliberate. People who embrace it actually, savor those moments alone. They find it therapeutic, restorative, even essential. It's a conscious step back to reconnect internally.
And when that choice isn't there,
Right.
when isolation is imposed, that has a pretty dark history, doesn't it? Especially when you look at things like urban design. I'm thinking of those early utopian housing ideas, like Godin's Familister back in 1859.
Oh, absolutely. Well-intentioned, for sure. They wanted clean, safe spaces, trying to help the working class. But the designs often led to this constant visibility. Residents had almost no privacy at all.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And that's where thinkers like Michel Foucault came in. He pointed out how this kind of constant surveillance, even if meant well, could feel controlling, even oppressive. The promised freedom kind of evaporated under that gaze, It's a chilling idea that architecture itself could confine your spirit.
That idea of design stripping away peace. It wasn't just buildings, was it? Foucault also talked about other situations where imposed conditions really hammered people's well-being.
Exactly. He wrote about French towns during plague outbreaks. Imagine, whole populations confined to their homes, strict divisions, constant inspections. People lost all their liberty. Daily life became a nightmare.
Wow.
And then there's Jeremy Bentham's Panopticon prison design, which Foucault analyzed too. That central tower letting guards watch prisoners, but the prisoners never knew if they were being watched.
Right, that uncertainty.
It enforced discipline through that constant possibility of surveillance. It completely stripped away, as the source puts it, the prisoner's ability to do as they pleased in peace. Taking away choice, whether through walls or rules, it seems to really damage mental health.
That historical perspective is powerful. And bringing it closer to home, the recent pandemic lockdown, that was a massive real-world example of imposed isolation for so many of us, wasn't it?
It really was. And the mental health impact was huge, far worse than many other really tough situations. It's such a stark contrast to this incredible study from the Institute for Biomedical Problems.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
They ran a 520-day simulation for a Mars mission. Participants had zero contact from home, tiny confined space, no natural light cues, really extreme isolation.
Okay. And the outcome?
Amazingly, no significant behavioral crisis. Almost everyone managed incredibly well, psychologically speaking. Only one person showed serious signs of depression.
Wow, that's really striking compared to the lockdowns. But hang on, was it just the choice factor for the astronauts, or did things like, having a clear mission or maybe the kind of people who volunteer for that play a big part too?
That's a really good question. And yes, it's more nuanced. The choice to be there was definitely critical. But you're right, the clear purpose, the intense preparation, the fact they chose that specific confinement for a major goal, all that contributed massively to their resilience.
Okay, so it's choice plus purpose.
Exactly. Choice combined with a sense of meaning and self-direction seems key for well-being during isolation. And when solitude is chosen and you balance it with, a healthy amount of social life, that's when you get real solace, real recuperation. We even heard from people saying things like solitary walks help them walk off my ire and think about the situation. Led to useful reflection, even apologies sometimes.
So it's a tool for processing difficult emotions too, not just chilling out. But it's more than just recovery, right? The sources talk about creativity too.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge catalyst for creativity and self-expression.
Yeah.
Think about Michel de Montaigne, the French aristocrat, back in the 16th century.
Okay.
After leaving public life, he basically locked himself away in his library. And it was during that time, that intense solitude, that he literally invented the essay form, short form writing as we know it.
No way. Just from being alone in his library.
Pretty much. He needed that space to think, to reflect, and something entirely new came out of it.
That's incredible. And there are more modern examples, too.
Definitely. Look at Joan Erdley, the 20th century Scottish painter. She struggled with depression, but found her sanctuary, her creative haven, on the really wild, lonely Scottish coast of Caroline.
Right.
She'd immerse herself in nature, painting outdoors, even in fierce storms. That solitude, that connection with the raw elements, fueled her incredible art. So it seems that solitude isn't just a break. It's almost like active fuel for creativity.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And nature seems to be a recurring theme there.
It really is. Erdley's story and others, they highlight how natural environments offer this immediate relief in stressful times, but also long-term mental health benefits. Rachel and Stephen Kaplan had a theory about this.
Which was?
Basically, that our ability to concentrate is just better in green spaces. Nature's tranquil simplicity and beauty, as they put it, is easier for our brains to process than, say, a busy city street. It's more compatible with how we're wired. So solitude isn't just rest, it's actively engaging a deeper, maybe more focused part of ourselves.
So what's the takeaway for us then? In our hyper-connected lives, we barely get any time for that internal quiet, do we? It feels like we almost become dependent on external noise for, I don't know, feeling productive.
That's a really sharp observation. And that dependence, one source suggests, can actually encourage loneliness when the external step is removed. When you're suddenly alone, you feel the lack more acutely if you haven't cultivated that inner space. Chosen solitude, on the other hand, lets us actually hear our own voice, to feel things long enough to understand them, catch those intuitive whispers. It's a path to deeper self-knowledge. There was this architecture firm, Beta Collective. They designed spaces on an island specifically to take people on a self-reflective journey.
Really? Like physical spaces for introspection.
Yeah, the whole point was to help people contemplate their place in the world, figure out who they are, essentially.
That's fascinating. Designing for self-discovery. So when we choose solitude, we're not running away, we're actually engaging, we're rediscovering ourselves. What really helps people find contentment when they are alone?
Well, someone on Reddit actually summed it up beautifully. It's about actively cultivating your inner world. Things like embracing self-discovery, really digging into your personal passions, finding creative outlets, committing to learning and growing, and practicing gratitude.
Okay.
These aren't just random hobbies. They're like building blocks for a really solid inner life, one that doesn't depend entirely on who's around you.
So how do we actually do that? How can we cultivate this, joyful solitude in our busy lives? Where do we even find it?
Well, the sources are pretty clear. People who choose solitude often head for green spaces, for the natural world.
Right, back to nature.
Yeah, and we heard personal stories backing this up. Someone said, a walk with my dog provides the well-needed balance between social interaction and solitude. Another person talked about night walks, deliberately without headphones, just using the time to think over their day.
I like that, intentional disconnection.
Exactly. It seems like natural green spaces, your own home, even just solitary drives. These are the common places people find really useful for experiencing solitude properly.
It's amazing how just changing your location, your environment can make such a difference. And it's wild that designers are now creating actual products and spaces for solitude.
Isn't it? There was Anastasia Smirnova's design for the Pushkin Museum. Instead of just packing people in, it focused on individual use of time, creating pockets for concentration. Kind of like Montaigne's library, but in public. And then you have products like the ostrich pillow, the one you stick your head in.
Yeah. Looks a bit weird, but I guess I see the point now.
Right, or their nutshell pod. They're designed very literally to just remove the user from any current stressful situation, reduce stress, encourage a bit of solace right in the middle of a busy day.
A literal escape pod for your head. It sounds funny, but maybe in a hectic office or something, that's exactly what you need for 5 minutes.
Precisely. And even more conceptual stuff, like Lucy McRae's solitary survival raft during the pandemic. It explored themes of fear and hope in confinement, but also focused on fulfilling those basic needs of privacy and comfort that solitude requires. It shows this growing awareness that solitude is a fundamental human need we need to design for.
Okay, so finding a quiet spot or even a quirky pillow helps. But what about activities? What can we actually do in our solitude to make it fulfilling?
Well, that Reddit advice mentioned creative stuff, writing, painting, music, any art form, really. And Amy T1 suggests things like wonder walks and creative adventures.
Wonder walks, tell me more.
It's about getting out physically, but in a way that enchants you and engages your spirit, lets your thoughts just wander. A key tip. Try leaving your phone at home when you run errands or go for that walk. Our sources say this simple act can give your thoughts room to grow in interesting directions.
You know, I've tried that, leaving the phone behind. It feels weird at first, but it's amazing what you notice. You actually see things. Your mind does kind of wander off into unexpected ways.
Exactly. It's about creating that space, isn't it? Not just disconnecting, but actively making room for your brain to do its thing. It's like mental decluttering.
Yeah, I like that.
There's also the idea of the big, the bold, and the brave, tackling a challenging, creative project that just sucks you in, consumes blocks of time, and brings this sense of inner calm. Or even just old-fashioned daydreaming, like consciously carve out time to just imagine things, your ideal home, your perfect creative space. Maybe even sketch it out, make it tangible. You could even play pretend model a quiet afternoon after how you imagine an artist you admire, like Georgia O'Keeffe might have spent hers, and just see what comes up.
Those are great practical ideas. What about just day-to-day stuff, mindset shifts?
Yeah, fundamental things help too. Like having a daily routine that includes things you genuinely enjoy, prioritizing self-care, looking after your physical, mental, and emotional health, mindfulness and meditation, obviously huge for staying present.
Right.
Keeping a gratitude journal sounds simple, but it really shifts your focus. And being mindful of negative inputs, maybe limiting doom scrolling or avoiding draining conversations.
Good point.
And journaling, just writing down thoughts and feelings. It's highlighted as a really powerful way to process things, gain insights. We saw diary entries where people describe solitary days as peaceful, thoughtful, or finding time at the beach, regenerating.
This all sounds incredibly positive, but we need to be clear, right? This isn't about locking yourself away and becoming a hermit. It's about balance.
Oh, absolutely. Crucial point. Yes. While chosen solitude is amazing, the sources are very clear. Many consider social interaction in the most critical area of life for benefiting mental health. We need both.
So solitude is more like recharging between social events.
Exactly. It's for recuperation and solace between social events, as one researcher put it. It helps us, as a Benedictine nun apparently said, give ourselves more fully to one another in community. It refills the tank so you can connect better.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So it's not solitude or connection, it's solitude and connection. Finding how they work together for a richer life.
You've got it. It's having the freedom to choose the alone time, which makes the experience positive, instead of having isolation forced on you. That's the core difference.
Right. So let's try and wrap this up. We've seen how vital that distinction is. Chosen solitude empowers, imposed isolation drains. We've learned that actively seeking solitude isn't selfish. It actually boosts well-being, creativity, self-awareness. We've talked about practical ways to bring it into your life, finding green space, maybe using specific designs or products, definitely leaving the phone behind sometimes, embracing creative projects, journaling.
Yeah, lots of tools.
And crucially, remembering it's about balance. Solitude makes our social connections better, and vice versa.
Perfectly put. And remember, society often, as one source said, cries out for solitude, but modern life tends to squash it. The power of choice makes solitude positive, but we have to cultivate that choice, make space for it, so it doesn't end up being imposed later.
So as you, the listener, go about your week, maybe ask yourself, how can I consciously design some moments of joyful solitude into my day? What's one small intentional choice I can make today to just reclaim a little bit of my own time and space?
Yep.
Think about architects trying to build solitude into public spaces. How can you be the architect of your own moments of peace, of that deeper connection with yourself?
What was the biggest thing that stood out for you today? How might you start cultivating your own joy of solitude? Something to think about.